Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of Crafting and Crime Daily, the show where I recap live trials. I'm your host, Rebecca, Crafting Journey. How are you? Look, I got my florals on. It's spring. I know, I'm being dramatic. This week has been the best sleep I've had in a very long time because it's no air conditioning, no heat, just natural air. And it just feels wonderful. It's a perfect temperature. During the day, it's the perfect. I need to bottle this week up and just sell it. Which, you'll buy it, right? Okay. So good news. My friend made it through surgery. And it's not my story to share, but the results were fantastic. Yeah, so I'm just tickled pink today because, yeah, she made it. Yay! You go, girl. I told you got this. I told you. All right, I don't think she's watching the show. I'm sure she's quite drugged up at this point. So I've got my notes here. We're continuing the coverage of the Lori Vallow Daybell case. Interesting day yesterday. We had some friends of Chad Daybell, Alice and her husband. I don't know what her husband's name was. I didn't catch it. Anyway, Mr. and Mrs. Gilbert. They testified. But the day started out with the cross-examination of Dr. Eric Christensen, the medical examiner who they exhumed Tammy Daybell's body, and he did the examination and autopsy. So on cross-examination, he was asked, "Can you really look at a brain after it's..." My boobs are crooked. Sorry, I hate when that happens. Let's straighten them out. Okay. Boy, did I digress there. Okay. Should I start over? All right, Dr. Christensen was asked about the seizures. If you can tell if through looking at the brain, the brain, there's no activity in the brain because she's dead. How are you able to tell that she actually had a seizure? He said he had someone that specializes in this that had actually examined the brain. But he was very steadfast in his opinion that this was asphyxiation. He was not wavering from that. He says, obviously, I'm not 100% that that's the cause of death because I wasn't there. But based on my education and training and my experience of, thousands of autopsies, this is asphyxiation. Thank you very much. Case closed. The next person was a detective, and what he did first was they introduced a lot of Tammy Daybell's medical records to show that, hey, this woman is healthy. Now, nobody saw the medical records. They were just introduced into evidence, and they're there if the jury, during their deliberations, want to go and check them out. I'm like, let me see those records. Let me see. Because she's 49 years old. Very physically fit. Wait till I tell you what's coming next. He also testified about her Fitbit. Now, she had a Fitbit, basic Fitbit, nothing fancy. It would track everything, but it didn't store everything. So it was tracking her steps, and it did store the steps, but like the heart rate and all that other stuff, it didn't store any of that. So they were able to go back and see what her steps were. Obviously, less in the winter, more in the spring and summer, but she was getting an average of 10,000 steps a day. That's pretty damn good. I aspire to that. Now, I have friends out there that's like getting out of bed in the morning, 10,000 steps. No, I've been averaging like 42, anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000. Yeah, that's my day because I walk the dogs a couple of days. But now that winter's over, I've been trying to walk them a little further. Now I have an Apple Watch, so I think it, because it's a fancier watch, it stores all of my health information. So if I ever drop dead, have them look at my Apple Watch to see how physically fit I was. And they're going to go, oh, not well. Not well at all. Anyway, she averaged 10,000 steps a day. That is really, really good. I'm very proud of you, Tammy Daybell. The other thing this detective testified to was that there were life insurance policies. Tammy and Chad Daybell had taken out a $300,000 policy, and he was made the beneficiary of, for if she, well, let me say this. I'm getting tongue-tied. If she died, he would be the beneficiary of the $300,000. If he died, she would be the beneficiary of the $300,000. Tammy also had, through her employee, another $130,000 of life insurance. So a total of $430,000 was paid to Chad by these two different companies. So now we know how Chad and Lori were living after they got married. They were living off of Tammy's life insurance. Then Alice Gilbert took the stand. Now she is part of the LDS Church. She is the Relief Society president. Now, I had no idea what the Relief Society is. In fact, we're going to ask Google, shall we? Where's Google? Okay. Every time I pick up a phone, it's like going down a rabbit hole. I'm like, I get so distracted, even when I've got the camera rolling. Isn't that terrible? All right, what did I say I was going to do? Oh, I'm terrible. What is the Relief Society in the LDS Church? Okay, the Relief Society is a philanthropic and educational women's organization of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It was founded in 1842 in Illinois and has more than 7 million members in over 188 countries and territories. Philanthropic and educational women's organization. Its purpose is to help prepare women for the blessing of eternal life as they increase faith in the Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ as his atonement. There's more. My goodness. Hold on. Hold on. More than you ever wanted to know. Strengthen individuals, families, and homes through ordinances and covenants, and work in unity to help those in need. All adult women in the church are members of the Relief Society. Through Relief Society, sisters receive a vision and assurance of their identity as daughters of God, with lives of purpose and direction. Okay, that's enough. That's enough of that. Okay. So, Alice Gilbert was the president of the Relief Society. She was allowed to have a couple of assistants, so she asked Tammy Daybell to be her assistant. So she and Tammy became fast friends. She met with Tammy once a week as part of the Relief Society. They would have their meeting, and then she also saw her every Sunday at church. So they got to be pretty good friends, and Alice's husband was very good friends with Chad. She learned that Tammy died the morning of her death when Emma, Chad and Tammy's daughter, Emma called her and said, I just wanted to let you know, Mom died in her sleep last night. Then Chad takes the phone away from Emma, and now he's talking to Alice. So she and her husband, as part of their Relief Society, and because they were friends with Tammy, they go over to Chad's house to see, what can we do? How can we help? Can I help you organize the funeral? And Chad's like, no, I got everything planned. This is on a Saturday, by the way. She's gonna be buried in Springville, Utah, and the funeral will be Tuesday. Now she was a little taken aback because that's kind of quick for a funeral. You have to organize it. And, you've got to, if you're planning this for out of town, you got to include travel time. And so the other thing Alice testified to was in January, 10 months prior to the death of Tammy Daybell, Chad had come to her and said that he had had a vision that Tammy was not going to live till the age of 50, that Tammy's time on earth was coming to an end. And her husband, Alice's husband, testified that the morning when they went over there after Tammy's death, that Chad seemed very businesslike. The children were obviously distraught, but Chad seemed very businesslike. And he kind of whispered to Chad, so I guess your vision was right. My God. So Alice said, yes, I went to the funeral. So she traveled to Utah. Her and her husband traveled to Utah to go to the funeral. She said, I wanted to see Tammy in the casket. And she started crying on the stand. I felt so bad for her. So she said, Chad spoke last at the funeral. She said, I was very impressed with the children. They were very calm and collected, and they really did a wonderful job speaking about their mother during the funeral. You know, all things considered, that it had just happened Saturday. They had to travel a day to get there, you know, write out what they were going to say. So she said Chad spoke last, but both she and her husband said it was more like church talk than someone who was grieving over their spouse. That was on a Tuesday. So the Wednesday was the memorial service. They did not go to the memorial service, Alice and her husband, but they did go to Chad's house, and they brought them some food. So the kids started eating, and now they're having a conversation with Chad, and Chad tells them, I'm going to be moving to Rexburg. I have a friend who has a condo over there, and he did refer to him as a he. He used the pronoun he. My friend has a condo over there, and I'm going to move over there. Then he told the kids, you need to go through Tammy's things this afternoon. What? Their mom hasn't even been dead a week, and he's telling them to go through her things. I need coffee for this. Holy moly. I need something stronger, don't you think? Okay. That's not the end. Chad keeps up with these people. He goes to visit them. Well, actually, they wanted to go visit him and his new friend, the friend with the condo. And he says, no, don't come over. I'll come over to your house. So Chad goes over to their house and actually tells them, hey, I've found my new wife. And this was like within a couple of weeks of Tammy dying. This is still October. She died October 19th. Then later on, either that week or the following week, still in October, Chad comes over with Lori. And Alice was asked to describe their behavior during this visit. And he said they sat on the couch. Chad has his arm around her and his arm over her legs. And she said, my husband and I were really embarrassed because they were like a couple of teenagers. Clearly, Chad was very enamored with Lori, and they were not hiding it, their affection. And so Alice and her husband were very taken back, especially since he never treated Tammy like that. But he and Tammy had been married for 30 years. When you're married for someone with 30 years, you're like, get away from me. You stay on your side, I'll stay on my side. I love you. Yeah, I love you. But you're staying on your side. Okay. In fact, no, I'm not going to go into it anymore. I could say more. So what else? Okay. Oh. So she asked Lori, hey, Lori, you ever been married before? And she's like, oh, yeah, I lost my husband in December. He died of a heart attack. Now, the truth of the matter was she had lost her husband from a gunshot just a few months prior to that in July. But she lied. Then Chad chimes in, she also recently lost her daughter. Now, Alice did not ask how she lost her daughter. She did not ask. She felt like she didn't want to pry. Then they came back another time to visit Chad and Lori after they got married. So this is in November. All of this is within a month of the funeral of Tammy Daybell. Within a month, they come back over to Alice and her husband's house to show them their wedding photos. So then word gets out about Lori's missing children. It was all over the news. Thanks to Kay and Larry, the grandparents of JJ. They were on Good Morning America. They were on all these kind of talk shows. They were giving interviews. Where are these children? Where are these children? Nate Eaton from East Idaho News is chasing them around Hawaii. Lori, where's the kids? Where's the kids? Nobody knew. So an order was issued that she produce these children. I think they gave her like a week to come to court with these children. It didn't happen. So she gets arrested in Hawaii for violation of this order and failure to produce the children. She is extradited back to Idaho. Now, Alice is hearing all this on the news. She's like, oh my God. So Chad actually had the nerve to call Alice and her husband and ask if they would put up their property against a bond so he could bond Lori out. I gotta pick up my jaw. What? I don't think the Relief Society says you put up your house to pay a bond for your sisters in Christ. So they're like, well, now we got to think about it. So Chad calls them the next day and says, I'm sending over a bondsman to work out this whole, tidy up the whole issue. And they're like, no, we haven't decided yet. Don't send anybody over here. But Alice takes this opportunity. She goes, but since you're asking us for a bond, I have some questions for you. Where are these children? Chad tells her, because she said, I thought you told me that you didn't have a daughter, or that her daughter had passed away. How many daughters does she have? And Chad says, no, she just has one daughter. So then that's when she knew it was Tylee. Plus he said, I never said that to you. I never told you that her daughter died. Yeah, he's questioning her memory. Why would you make something like that up? Of course he told her that. So in response to where are the kids, he said, she didn't like people. She didn't like me. And again, she's crying on the stand when she says this. And the prosecutor said, what about this upset you so much? And she said, because he used the word didn't, which is past tense. Needless to say, they didn't put the property up for a bond for Lori, which I think at first was set at $5 million and then was later reduced to $1 million. And Chad, he went through his phone book. Like he was asking everybody, hey, help me with this bond. Yeah. Now, Mr. Gilbert, when he took the stand, said that he actually knew about Lori from before he met her, from a podcast that he had listened to. This was a podcast that Lori did with Melanie Gibb, a guy named Jason Mao, and a guy named Thor. I want to meet Thor. And because he said this is how he figured out who Lori was, the defense moved the court to play the podcast, which was an hour and 49 minutes. And the prosecution vehemently is like, no, it's hearsay. It's, the other three people, not Lori's statements, but the other people's statements. And it's just to circumvent her testifying. She can say all these things on this podcast. We can't cross-examine her. No, this should not come in. So parts of it were played, and then when it got to right before Lori started to talk, the judge took the tape went back in chambers. They all took a break. He listened to what Lori had to say on this podcast, comes back and says it's coming into evidence. And boy, the prosecution was not happy about this. Not happy about this. Now, Lori doesn't have to take a stand. Well, I mean, I don't know. She may want to. Who knows? But in any case, on this podcast, and I'm going to play just a very small portion of it, but on this podcast, she is heard talking about, meeting Jesus in person and the angels coming to visit her and meeting the angel Moroni and she's giggling and laughing about how she met Jason and the temple and how Moroni led her to him. And I'm like, oh my God, such baloney. Okay, so I'll see you on the other side of this portion of the podcast.
A witness of Jason now. I'm a witness to everything that he said. I do, but to what he says about what the prophet says and about what the Lord is telling us and about the warrior spirit inside of us. Right? My job, according to Jesus Christ, is to wake up the women warriors. Because I too have gone to the bottom edge, just like Thor. I'm a witness of his testimony. I too have seen the resurrected Jesus Christ, and he has told me my mission, and he has sent me to help people and lift them in their missions. And so I testify about that warrior. That's what I feel like do. When Jason starts talking, I just start talking like this. I love to hear him speak. We go through. I'm just a normal person that grew up in the church, grew up in Southern California, went to Utah, went to BYU, did all those things, right? But my life turned bad. It turned really bad. And like Jason, I wanted to give up. And like Laura, I was ready to go to the other side. I'm like, this is way too hard. I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be out of here. And I didn't want to kill myself. I wanted to pray and have the Lord just take me. Like, as a sweet mercy, just take me, done, I'm out of this game. And he showed me myself as a warrior in the pre-existence. As a warrior, like a beast. Like, I fought with Satan. He hates me. I did all these things. And so he showed that to me so that I would put on. I was crying in the temple all day long in this lunchroom, bawling my eyes out. People coming up, lady, are you okay? No, I'm not okay. Just are crying the whole time. But he showed me so that I too could be the warrior that he sent me here to do. And do I want to go back and say, I can't do this? It was too hard. I didn't do it? No, none of us want to go back and do that. We came here to fight this war, and what I know directly from Jesus Christ and angels from on high who have come to minister to me. Okay? The time is now. That this war is on, and it has started. And what Jason gave us about a timeline is accurate, true, and correct. These things will start happening in the next 2 years, and things are going to change, and we need to be ready for that change. And how we do that? We sanctify ourselves. We turn our lives completely over to Christ, and we let him build the warrior from within. And I will say that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. You guys can ask questions.
I like them.
Yeah.
It's right. We ran into each other.
Why can you tell us about today? Women that you are, that you empower. Whoever Jesus Christ sends to me. So I pray who he wants me to go to, and he sends people to me through various means. A lot of times at the temple. So that's the story of Jason and I. So I have some women that I know. That is obvious. Right? Jason, I was sent to the temple on a certain day that there would be a message for me from Angel Moroni. On a certain day, go to the temple on this day. And I went to the temple on that day, and fully expecting the Lord to send me a messenger because that's what He told me. So I went to the temple, and we had done the initiatories, and I went to the celestial room, and I was with my friend who was also like me and aware that we were waiting for a message from the Angel Moroni. And Jason Mao walked into the celestial room, and I didn't know who he was. Although we had been in the same ward before a long time ago. He walks in, and my friend goes, "Oh, that's that guy who writes books about Moroni." And I was like, So my spirit's just like burning within me, right? Like, so my whole spirit is just like burning. I'm like, oh, we're going to have to go talk to them. Oh, I hate to go talk to people I don't know. And not like to just walk up to people and interrupt them in the celestial room while they're just pondering and those things. So I just wasn't going to do it. So I told the Lord, I said, if we're supposed to talk to him, make him come talk to us. You send him to us. We're supposed to talk to him because I like to go up to men in the celestial room and just say hi or whatever. So I didn't talk to him, but he had recognized Nicole, who he knew was my friend with me because they were there. And so as he gets up to, and it was super funny because we went in and we sat in the celestial room, and we never sit on that side. And then we're sitting in this chair, and the spirit told me, it's like, move to the couch. Right, I'll move to the couch. Like, I don't know why it makes a big difference. I'll move to the couch. Like, not that I'm not used to hearing these things already, and I don't know why I even thought it, right? So I just moved to the couch. And Jason had walked just right past us on the couch and sat right next on the chairs next to us. So he got up to leave, and he didn't know why he got sent to the temple that day, but someone had sent him to the temple that day. So I didn't let him tell that part, but he just sat up, and we got up to shake his hand, and I'm like, hi, and you have a message for me from Moroni. So he was probably thinking, what is this crazy lady? And we started talking. And I got to hear his story and that kind of stuff. And then at the end of that, he's like, well, I need to get used with some like-minded people. I said, the Lord sent me, because I'm supposed to find these women that He sends me to, or sends them to me. And He said, He sent me to Melanie.
Good job.
And that is how Melanie and I met. And he sent her my information. She emailed me that day. She said, I'm doing a class on this Thursday. You should come. It's at the church up in Mesa. I'm like, oh, so far away. Okay, Heavenly Father, like, I've got to get a babysitter. I've got to do all these things to go meet Melanie. But I did. But then I saw her. I knew that she was one of them that I was supposed to be involved with and stuff, and she knew it when she saw me, and she gave her a little talk, and it was so cute, and I loved it. And then someone else got to speak, and she walked out to the culture hall, and I was like, and went out there and talked to her, and we were instant sisters because we knew each other before, and that's how the Lord works. So He sends me to people. He's building His army, and He is calling people, and He is calling people to do certain missions that He needs done right now. Like, it has already begun, and He is calling people to do these missions, and they're to go forward in faith, and this is what He tells you. This is how the Lord works. He doesn't tell you exactly what you're going to do. He said, go forward, and I will tell you exactly what to do. So every day, I say, who do you need me to be? What do you need me to do? And I sent all these women. They just come, and I'm able to share my experiences with them and share what the Lord has told me specifically about myself. And sometimes He gives me messages for them to help them in what their missions that they promised they would do before they came to this earth. And stuff they are experts at. And I love that one about Jason said, because, and what Laura says, we signed these contracts because we knew what we would be doing. We knew exactly what we would be doing, and the time is now to do those things that we promised that we would do. So that's for your question.
She's actually the third person that this has happened.
Okay, now if you want to hear the whole podcast, you can just, Google it. Just Melanie Gibb, Lori Daybell podcast. I don't know what the name of the podcast was. They did it a few times. In fact, they were podcasting, Melanie and her boyfriend, the visionary guy, and Lori were podcasting the night we think J.J. Vallow died. Yeah. From her kitchen, on the kitchen counter, they're podcasting. There's so many things I have to say about that. I'm just going to keep quiet. So that was the end of the day yesterday. That took the whole day. That back and forth about whether or not this podcast should come in or not come in, or oh my God. So 40 minutes of it was played to the jury. What do you think the jury thinks about that now? Me having heard it, I think the woman is delusional. I think anybody that thinks they're seeing visions and you've actually met Jesus Christ in person is a little bit of a fruitcake, I would think. Yeah, and we don't like fruitcake, do we? I love fruitcake because it's so entertaining. Anyway, what else is going on? Calendar. Let's talk about the calendar. Forensic linguistics. We're going to talk about forensic facts today. Forensic linguistics, say that 3 times fast, is a subset of applied linguistics, which is the investigation of language-related real-life problems. The forensic use of linguistics is divided into 3 main areas: analyzing the language of written law, analyzing the language of investigative or judicial processes, and analyzing language-based evidence, including 911 calls, ransom notes, written and recorded threats, manifestos, suicide notes, and social media posts. The earliest use of the term forensic linguistics was UK professor Jan Swartvik, 1968, analysis of the statements Timothy John Evans gave to police when he confessed to the 1949 murder of his wife and their infant daughter. Evans was executed in 1950. In 1953, it was discovered that serial killer John Christie was responsible for the murders. Swartvik found that Evans' statements to the police were stylistically inconsistent with the statements he gave at trial. Early forensic linguistics investigations in the UK focused on police interrogations. Very interesting. I know when the Murdoch case was going on, the Alec Murdoch trial, there were some linguistic people on YouTube that were analyzing his, I don't know if it was linguistics, but there were people that were analyzing his body language as he spoke. I don't know if that's the same thing. Probably not, but the linguistics person could analyze the way he was saying it, I guess, that he was probably not so sincere. Anyway, yeah, interesting. It's Wednesday, May 3rd. Yep. So tonight I will be live at 6:30 p.m. on Craft With Me Wednesday. If you have a craft that you would like me to just see me do, you can put that in the suggestions on my Discord. The link to joining the Discord should be down in the description. If it's not, message me. I'll send you an invite. You can join the Discord. Or you can just put it in the comments. That's probably way easier. I'll see you tonight. It may be watercolor. I'm leaning towards watercolor. I was hoping to have some new brushes and some new gouache paint in, but it hasn't come in yet. But I'm leaning towards watercolor. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on the testimony from yesterday and what kind of craft you want to see tonight. Love you all, and I'm going to finish my coffee, and I'll see you later. Bye.